He was always quiet, but his presence was felt nonetheless.
I definitely miss his help, but...
I performed the rite, and I brought you the ashes.
Thank you, Bryn. Isla admired you. She would be honored that you did this for her.
It's not how she would have wanted things. I should have been there.
Enough! I know you're grieving. We all are. But you are no longer the Eye. And this disrespectful conduct ends now. You owe Bryn a thank you. And an apology for that matter. And probably a great deal more than that. Not only has she gone out of her way to perform the rite for your daughter, but she saved us all from certain death at the Grand Gate too. None of which she would ever have had to do if it weren't for your...
For my actions! I know! I know! It's all my fault. I should have been there. Not at the temple. At the Grand Gate. I should have stayed. The way she looked at me when I left her there. Never forget it. I could fill a city with my mistakes. I should have supported her work. I should never have lied to her. My regrets will drown me.
Maybe they should.
Maybe they should.
My mother used to say, you can drown in your grief, or learn to swim in it. It is unfair that you lost a child, no matter the circumstances. I am so sorry that happened to you. But now you have a choice. You can spend the rest of your days counting the ways you failed your daughter. Or you can dedicate every breath you have left to her.
How?
Just do one small thing a day that would make her proud to call you her father. Start by helping us finish the work you wish you had supported in her life.
It's too late for that, I'm afraid. If you'll excuse me. But there is one thing. The Ark in your camp, the one she wanted to restore. It's called the Ark of Verdance. An enchantress named Lucia de Crassus built it.
Lucia.
Consider it a thank you for what you've done.
You deserve better from him. But that was probably all he's capable of. Come to think of it, we all deserved better from him.
What will you do now?
Take care of my people. Someone needs to. And you? You're going to try to fix the arcs.
The Ark we followed through the Veil. We have no idea what it was doing outside the Enclave in the first place, or even how it got us in here. If we're ever going to stand a chance of leaving, or bringing down the Veil, we need to find out more.
I wish I could help, but arcs were Isla's expertise, not mine. Still, I agree. That arc allowed you to pass safely through the tangles, where Surgeborn go to regenerate. If you're going to try to fix it, consider me heavily invested in your progress.
It's too great an advantage to ignore. I'll keep you updated.
My light. I remember the day you were born, vividly. When I held you, my heart was so full it threatened to break. And I know your mother felt the same way. For all her flaws, she would be so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
Dom, the interference I'm experiencing during expeditions is concerning. Is there any chance our scry is degrading like the ones belonging to the Enclave?
No. I'm positive this is something else entirely. Our scry remains unchanged. We have the means to test for degradation, and there is none. I'll need to investigate further.
As long as it doesn't give out on us completely in the meantime.
However, I have taken a look at the Spindle's copy of the workings of Archons, and thankfully, the writing is far more legible than Lucia's. And her notes are significantly less paranoid at that.
About that, Kenrick Stanold told me that Lucia wasn't just tinkering with the Ark we followed through the Veil. She built it. The Ark of Verdance.
That is quite the revelation. What was it for?
That was all Kenrick could tell me. Or wanted to tell me. But Sev mentioned that Kenrick had been feeding Isla information about a failsafe for the Source. Could the Ark of Verdance be the fix she was working on without realizing it?
Yes. Yes! That could be it. Genius, Bryn. On my side, I dug into her notes. She was working on a way to fully restore our Ark for us. She was so close to a schematic, intricate, elaborate, masterful. And I finished it. Solar has the final design ready for you. Essentially, we'll be creating a power core for the Ark. Most notably, we'll need a special part, a bar of shaped coral. This is the final key for an Ark to be functional on its own without a Weaver channeling magic into it.
If we had built a power core earlier, could her death have been prevented?
She only made this discovery in the final days of her life, through researching all the Ark parts we had supplied her. Her research even theorizes that using one's own magic to power an Ark for brief amounts of time could result in death.
So she knew she was going to die at the Grand Gate?
She knew exactly what would happen, and did it anyway. That's courage.
We can't let it be in vain. So, then the Ark of Verdance is our failsafe. Your design will get it running. Where can I find the shaped coral?
She suspected it was kept in the Archon's hearth, stored near natural coral deposits for its regenerative properties.
Have you ever felt like you couldn't trust the people around you? Well, never mind. You did tell me about Aaron and how he undermined your confidence. I suppose it would have been hard to hold trust in someone who didn't respect you.
It wasn't fun, I can tell you that. Is there someone here who's putting you on edge?
It's Sev, and how he was collaborating with the Eye behind our backs.
Oh? I can understand, but you didn't exactly seem blown away by the revelation.
I didn't have time to process it. I have now, and the more I think about it, the more upset I feel. Logically, I understand the situation. I can trace the weave of circumstance that forced his hand and led to his deception. I know he had no choice, and I've even forgiven him. I said the words to his face, so why am I still so angry?
That's a tough one.
It reminded me again of Udea. Will the fear and the manipulation follow me forever? Will it taint everything?
The secrets, the lies, the subterfuge. The Maida may seem a balmy paradise, but in reality, it is a toxic swamp. Every fiber of my being is screaming at the prospect of having my life ruined by this again.
All right. It's clear that sitting around base camp chewing on this isn't doing you any good. You need a distraction.
Possibly. What did you have in mind?
The Axel must be overwhelmed right now. Let's find something to help her with.
I'm amenable to this. Shall I let you ask her, or...?
Oh no. You're coming with me.
I suppose it'd be good to catch up with her, and I'll meet you at Cassidy's Hold, then. See you soon.
Bryn and Lane, to what do I owe the pleasure?
We're hoping that there's something you can help us with. Or rather, we're hoping that there's something we can help you with.
I'm not sure I follow.
I've been at a loose end, gnawing on painful thoughts, only growing more despondent in the process.
Huh.
So we're here to focus on problems that are a little more tangible. What can we help you with?
That is very kind of you. I've had a great deal of difficulty keeping on top of things.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
We're here to help. Like I said.
Right. I've got a petition from the scouts here somewhere. Let me find it. Arakim has been nagging me about accessing the Archon's Hearth. Its stores of raw material could busy our Forge Masters for months. Now that I'm technically in charge, I'm loath to follow Kenrick's lead in recklessly sending the scouts into dangerous situations. What I'm lacking to make that call is intelligence on the Archon's Hearth. Our documentation is decades out of date.
I've already spent a lot of time in there, actually. It was pretty hot, from what I recall.
Dangerous too, one would assume. Can you elaborate on what you saw in there?
While exploring where the arcs were assembled, I couldn't help but imagine how busy it must have been back before the Surge. Archons seem big when I'm fighting them, but the scale feels totally different when they're attached to a scaffold.
Fascinating.
Well, it was only one area that was particularly hot, but all of it was dangerous.
I assume you refer to the Arcane Foundry, then?
Yeah. It was on another level to what you've got here at the Hold, or what we have at camp. I can't imagine how many Archon parts they produced per day. The most interesting part was where they grew the coral. I could feel the magic running through it.
It is a reminder that there are still lost secrets to be found.
Exactly. Anyway, there's lots going on in there. Do you think it's safe enough to send in the scouts?
Not quite. I still have grave concerns about the fluctuating heat levels.
I believe I may have a solution for that. A potion that will maintain your body temperature even in the hottest conditions. I don't quite have the equipment to make it yet, but the knowledge is there.
That's wonderful news. That said, I would like a demonstration to be sure they work.
A fair stipulation. Some sort of combat encounter in the Archon's Hearth under the hottest possible conditions. Fighting an Archon that relies on fire magic would be ideal to demonstrate the potion's efficacy.
You know I'm always up for a challenge.
I have no doubt in your abilities after what I've witnessed you achieve.
Well then, I'll be back once I've felled a mighty construct. The Archon's hearth once more. Wish Isla was here to guide me.
I could assist in her absence.
What the?
Bryn, what?
Aurea, the scry has been compromised by the Surgeborn. Stay off it.
Compromised is such a strong word. I just want to talk. So, what are we looking for in the Archon's heart? I know the end works well. It is my region, after all.
Like I tell you. You murdered my friend.
Technically, I didn't touch it. It isn't my fault she left the sender to follow through on what she started.
There's a lot of coral here. I must be getting close to where the Enclave stored shaped bars. Will the Surgeborn know our plan when I pick it up? I guess that's a risk I need to take.
The Arcane Foundry. Every Archon was assembled and enchanted here.
shaped coral. You and I have such similar taste in treasure. Whatever you're planning to do with that is nothing compared to what we could accomplish if we put our minds together.
I can manage well enough on my own.
You could do so much more than manage.
The Surgeborn in the Howling Jail somehow has access to the scry.
We know. I can feel it in there with me. It's not pleasant. We need to do something fast.
The good news is, as far as we can tell, it only has access when you're in the underworks. At most, it seems to cause interference when you're above ground. We don't think it can listen in.
Until we can block its presence, best to keep use of the scry to a minimum.
Aurea, I could feel the Surgeborn too. I know exactly what you mean.
Doesn't feel great.
The kind of nausea that only comes from the wind being knocked out of you.
It takes a lot out of me to stay connected to you when it's present, let alone speak.
That must be why there's interference.
What you're both describing, it makes me wonder if the Eye was under a deeper influence from the Surgeborn than we realized.
How so?
We assumed he was merely manipulated into a foolhardy plan, but what if the Surgeborn had some sort of effect on his mind?
I could believe it. But if that's the case, then we need to limit Bryn's exposure to it through the scry. Fast.
And yours.
I don't think it's me the Surgeborn wants to influence. From the sounds of it, it wants you.
Weavers need a physical connection to the scry to communicate, either by wearing the earpiece or touching the scroll. The Surgeborn doesn't have either, so how is it connecting to our scry?
Well, let's start with what we know. The imprisoned Talon was able to convince Stanild to open the gate. But the Herald was there and waiting. It was not surprised at all, despite the Scout's distractions. Ergo, the Herald and Talon were communicating somehow, yet the Talon had been imprisoned for years. Would it not be reasonable to suggest the Surgeborn can communicate with one another using something like our scry? Or worse, perhaps they can share thoughts needing no magic at all.
A single shared consciousness.
The implications are frankly staggering, but it is the only explanation I can think of for what we've observed. And if I'm correct, it's not such a leap to imagine creatures like this, or perhaps a creature, would be capable of infiltrating our scry.
Let's hear it. How bad is all this?
The scry is a complex piece of Weaver enchantment. That this Surgeborn has broken in is not good.
We still don't know exactly what it wants, but if it continues to infiltrate our constructs, this could mean an all-out war.
War?
Imagine they gain control of the Enclave's arcs. Sure, they're dangerous now, but with a sentient strategist behind them, they could storm the Maida in a couple of hundred strides.
You think the Surgeborn's interests expand beyond the Enclave?
With an enemy as calculated as this, best to assume the worst.
All right. How are we going to fix this?
The reason Aurea can sense the Surgeborn presence on the scry is likely because it's wielding magic to communicate. The same way Aurea's mantle pulls magic from the air to contact you. However, unlike Aurea, the Surgeborn can't pull magic from the air around it. Otherwise, it would be talking to you all the time.
But it can only reach me when I'm underground.
Where the tangles are most dense. We need to cut off its access to raw magic.
That's where the spindle comes in. Thanks to her, we finally have the missing piece to get our escort here running.
It was a failsafe in the case that the source needed to be repaired. The Ark of Verdance will create a safe bubble against the tangles, which would be the natural consequence of any failure of the source.
Just like it did with the Veil.
Exactly. But without the crushing weight that caused it to fail.
So, the plan. We get the Ark to the source, it stabilizes the Enclave.
Or at the very least, starts the process.
If the Herald waiting down there doesn't destroy it first, I'll need to take it down. If this plan is going to work.
That sounds dangerous.
It might be a risk worth taking.
We have to. The Enclave is overflowing with raw magic, and this source is clearly the root of the problem. Too many tangles have led to the floods. They allow the Surgeborn to communicate and infect our enchantments. Without the source under control, we will never reclaim the Enclave.
Then that's our plan. We build a power core, then we speak to the Axle.
I'll join you at Cassidon's Hold.
And with this power core, we can fix our Ark of Verdance. I think this is what they call a full circle moment.
Huh. Lately, I feel like I've been running in circles.
Hey, I know things look bleak, but this is a win. Don't let the Talon rob you of it. You're finishing her work, after all.
You're right.
I always am. Now, I think you've got a meeting with the Axle.
It's a little bit beautiful, isn't it? It's like reaching into the past and shaking hands with its designer. We have achieved much.
I think she'd be happy to see it up and running.
I think so too. Plans set in motion decades ago. Slowly ticking towards fruition. If we are so lucky.
Khan Arteme, my Weaver Band has repaired the Ark we followed through the Veil and discovered its true purpose.
To nullify the tangles at the source so it can be repaired.
Its anti-magic properties are why we were able to follow it through the Veil in the first place.
I see.
If we could get it to the source, we believe it could stabilize the Enclave.
Except the Grand Gate was broken when the Ark pushed the Herald back through it.
Surely there must be another way to reach the source.
Now that it's repaired, couldn't this Ark be used to leave the Enclave the way you came?
In theory, sure.
What are you saying, Khan Arteme?
It's time for someone to protect my people. I need to use that Ark to get us all out of here.
You would leave with the Surgeborn running loose? Or worse, allow them to spread and wreak havoc across the Maida in your wake?
No one has succeeded in stopping them yet. We've been trapped inside the Enclave for decades. It's time to set ourselves free before the Surgeborn overtake Cassidon's Hold and kill us all.
In moments like these, we can't give in to our worst fears. That's what Kenrick did, and look where it got him.
We're only still here because the Spindle was brave. Honor that.
The Surgeborn has infiltrated our scry. It's learning how to use our enchantments against us. If we don't put a stop to this madness, how long until they overtake the Arks? Or bring down the Veil and spread across the Maida?
That is concerning. Still, let's be clear. Even if you could reach the source, there's a massive Surgeborn that almost killed you lurking down there.
I'll be ready for the Herald this time.
And what are you going to do about all the Tangles? Punch them before they disintegrate you?
We will leverage the Aeroliths to control miasma at the source. We think this will clear a path so that I can escort the Ark.
Interesting. You've put more thought into this than I'd expected. But, as you've said, you have no way to reach the source.
Fine. Our plan has a few kinks to iron out.
More than a few.
How about this? If you can just give us time to present you with the final plan, it'll be your call whether or not we move forward on it.
I suppose that's fair. I can't pack up this stronghold in a day.
One more thing. It's clear by now the Enclave hides its secrets well. If there's any information on the source, I need access to it.
There are private records that can only be accessed with the Eye's signet. I suppose he's not using it at the moment, but...
Bryn did just save your people from certain death not too long ago.
Fine. You can borrow it. You should find information at the Spire in Upper Denevron, the Bastion, and the Institute.
We'll arrange a meeting with you when we're ready.
Good luck.
Oh, Bryn. Hi.
Were you crying? Are you okay?
Yes. The rite of ashes just got to me, that's all. The spindle and the axle only had such a brief time together.
It's awful. I can't imagine how she's feeling right now.
So much in life can be fleeting. It just makes you appreciate what a gift the time you have with someone is.
You performed the Rite of Ashes beautifully, Bryn.
Glad to hear it. Not being part of the church myself, I felt a little out of place.
I'm sure Isla is at peace.
The rite I read mentioned shrouding the spindle in an eternal warmth. Is that in reference to an afterlife?
Yes, although the Reformed sect do believe in an afterlife, it is featured more prominently in Orthodox Hallowpire beliefs. The idea being that the Great Fire is an ethereal, divine being which cannot be fully comprehended in this life, and who waits for its followers beyond this lifetime.
The Eye asked me to collect the ashes from the altar on his behalf. What does he intend to do with them?
It depends on the sect. But often the ashes from the ritual are interred with the body in a burial site. Other times, if it's a prominent family, which the Stanholds seem to be, the ashes are housed in a family mausoleum. Tragic, of course, that a father must do this for his child instead of the other way around.
A religion founded on fire seems like a natural draw for weavers. Was that your experience in Renland?
Hardly. In Renland, magic was ostracized. And there, it was viewed as unnatural corruption of fire. Pure ignorance. That's why I've turned my back on it for many years. But you're right, that the Stanel family's religious beliefs are notable. The prominence of the church in Upper Denevron suggests the weavers here held it in high regard.
I appreciate your perspective on it. But I'd better let you get back to work.
Before you go, thank you for laying her to rest. You could have just paid your respects and left, but it was the right thing to do.
I've been running more tests on the bloom you recovered.
You didn't need it all for Darm's tools?
No, thankfully. We had a number of false starts with the alchemical processes, but we had enough petals even then. It does speak to the issue, though. I tried every control I could think of, and can only conclude that the bloom itself is off.
Could it just have been that one flower?
Perhaps. Either way, it warrants further study. But Arakim's offered to help us collect more, so it won't impact you. So, Arakim, then. Not that I'm jealous, but Arakim.
I'll have you know that he's got a wonderful personality.
I'm sure the toned physique and raw athleticism don't hurt his case either.
Maybe.
Well, you know, make sure to stay hydrated and all that.
Aw, look at you. Keeping our best interests at heart.
I do my best. Arakim. It's nice to have the camp stove working properly again. Even if it took Casmin quietly tossing our coal supply into the hollow one night to make it happen.
Wait, she did?
Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. But Darm and Solar have reconciled, which I suspect was her whole plan, so hopefully it's okay. Still, Kaz doesn't like for people to know she's a romantic at heart.
Oh, well, I am very glad you mentioned this. Thank you, Lane.
Just go easy on the teasing. I don't want her to serve my stew cold all week.